This is the Yanks Go Yard podcast with Adam Weinrib and Thomas Carinante.
Welcome to the Yanks Go Yard podcast, the only podcast that gets you Bronx bombed on a weekday afternoon. I'm Adam Weinrib alongside Thomas Carinante. We're coming at you a little late with a bonus episode because we've got 3 dropping this week. Today we're live chatting about all optics from the week. Is it something or nothing? Playing a little game. Gleyber Torres' strange cryptic tweet, something or nothing. Gonna be something to some people, nothing to others. What about Hal Steinbrenner's blowout meeting where he said everybody checked their egos at the door? Do we care? Do we not? Do the Yankees understand anything about optics? Because when you announce that you're putting nap pods in the clubhouse, it doesn't exactly play well to the people who already think the players are coddled. So just an FYI, if you're going to build nap pods, we actually don't need to hear about it, especially before there's any actual offseason change. I would maybe do offseason change first, then be like, also, we made nap pods. And it doesn't really matter, and you don't have to know that, but you do now. That's just that's free unsolicited PR advice. But the reason we're doing an episode today and a bonus episode is because we have, on tomorrow's show on the channel, Jabba Chamberlain joined us. Thomas Carinante, probably like the best interview we've ever done. Low key, high key, pretty easy call there.
Yeah, regular key. Honest dude, open dude, pretty much real as it gets. I don't think he said everything so honestly, and there were no like hot takes in there. It wasn't like you see some of these former players that pop on these podcasts and they say this crazy shit for shock value, but Job is literally like a regular Yankees fan, which was super refreshing because he has the pedigree as a player who had accomplished a very good amount in his major league career and was a highly touted prospect and up and comer, and had to deal with all of those expectations and all that pressure. And he couldn't have been more down to earth. I think that's just the best way to describe the guy. So it was a pleasure having him. You guys are going to enjoy that one for sure.
And he had some never before heard anecdotes about some players that you're not going to be shocked by at all, but you're going to be happy that you heard. So please tune in to that tomorrow. It'll be premiering live on the channel and it'll go up on all audio feeds. Again, we are live typically Mondays and Thursdays, 2 o'clock Eastern, way delayed today. Sorry about that. Thomas and I had a lot of stuff to go through. Unrelated to the New York Yankees, but of course, we're always thinking about the New York Yankees. We're live on YouTube and all podcast platforms right after the show. And Thomas, you've got an offer for anybody watching or listening.
I sure do. And you know what? I'm going to give my unsolicited advice today because I'm feeling a pick. And I think this is where people got to cash in. Because if you're getting this risk-free situation from Caesars, it's the best bet you can get. So if you're not yet signed up for Caesars Sportsbook, they are running a new sign-up offer that you're not going to want to miss. New customers can get their first bet on Caesars up to $1,000 by using our code YGY1000 at sign-up. Not only will that first bet be covered, this is my favorite part, you'll be directly supporting us, the podcast, the guys you have fun with every week, multiple times a week. So please head on over there, get this done if you are ready to bet. My pick tonight, Phillies. You can't turn down the odds outside of the Braves comeback the other day in game 2. I really don't see how, they're going to put up any fight tonight. That I think they
should have already swept this series.
Yeah.
Like, this should be over. It's not, but it should be.
Yeah. They have been outplayed for 99% of this series. So like, I can't bet on them, and you're getting good juice on the Phillies plus 124. So like that's if there's any time to use a risk-free bet, it's with that number. So please head on over to Caesars if you have not yet. The code is YGY1000 at sign up. That is YGY1000. This offer is available to new customers only who are 21 and older and physically present in gambling states. Please remember to always gamble responsibly. Check the episode descriptions for full terms of the offer. You can't bet on the Yankees. You can, however, I don't know. You can't bet anything on them. I don't even know what they're going to do. Hal Steinbrenner comes out and he talks to a bunch of people at a sports convention about this. Still bizarre. I mean, sort of bizarre, not bizarre that we haven't had a post regular season end of season press conference.
Yeah.
I'd rather would have seen that than this video clip pop up at whatever this was. So yeah, man, I don't know. I think Jabba put it nicely yesterday. I think, you flip a coin with this team. That's what he said. And whatever it lands on is maybe what they're going to do, because super unpredictable right now. Everything's still vague. Changes are coming. Don't know what they are. Personnel changes could be coming, but also probably not. I think good teams just need to identify the problem and axe it, and the Yankees are just not doing that once again.
Yeah, in case you missed it, the first round of Something or Nothing is Hal Steinbrenner's little weird staff meeting that he announced yesterday. We thought back in the day, like 2 weeks ago, we thought we were getting a big outside audit, and then we learned we weren't, and we assumed they were going to do some internal soul searching and then ultimately change nothing. That's kind of what it felt like Hal told us all about yesterday. His appearance at some sort of, keynote speech came out where he was describing what the Yankees staff did in Florida to regroup at the end of the season. It sounded like he was just describing the conceit of the real world to someone who's never watched television before. He was like, look, we all got in a room. We checked our egos at the door. Sometimes it got pretty intense, but ultimately I am glad that Rebecca and I kissed in a hot tub. It's like, okay, well, I don't really know like what you're describing, but he basically was like, yeah, look, Cashman and I don't know who else was there, all got in a room together, and sometimes it got fiery, but in a good way. We all checked each other. We all that's why we invited who we invited. Some sort of leadership meeting. But to me, it's still nothing because I haven't seen any changes. He said, we're going to make changes, some of them more subtle than others. Like, all right, so I'll never know whether you changed an evaluation process or not. Like, I'll just never know. I don't know. I don't know how player development guys attacked the 8th round of the draft before. And so you could tell me after the season, like, we totally revamped the way we do Midwest scouting. And I would be like, I guess. Like, I just don't know. So unless there are very perceptible changes, I'm going to call this a nothing. But he certainly gave a great speech about, season 7 of The Real World. Like, yeah, it got real. We all really stripped each other down. We worked through past traumas, and then end of day, we decided that maybe we don't want to move to LA and date. Maybe we're better off as friends. Like, I don't know. It was a cool speech, but did nothing for me.
Never does anything for me. I think at this point, we've reached threat level midnight. The Yankees need to run their operation through action and less and less and less and less talking. Every time they talk, they're explaining something that we already know. They're explaining the basic procedure of baseball roster moves, or the basic procedure of someone recovering from an injury, or anything else that you could guess with it. Any sort of educated jolt behind it. You can figure out what the process or what the plan is, the plan of attack is. Him telling us that they've identified some areas and some changes if you've identified the areas where there's a problem, then you know what the changes are.
I've identified the areas. I'm just some guy. I've identified the areas.
If the people in charge actually found out what the problems were, they would, the next day, they would have a decision on who would be staying and who would be going. For example, if the problem is the lineup construction, who is to blame? That would be Aaron Boone, unless there is, messaging getting funneled from the front office. We want to talk analytics. If the problem has been the analytics team looking at the wrong numbers and refusing, what he said here was everyone had to check their egos at the door. The first thing I thought is, what kind of people are they hiring? They're hiring people that when you're going into a meeting to evaluate performance, which is like an annual thing in every single job in the history of the world, that they can't enter the room without, being too prideful or being too argumentative about maybe how their processes aren't exactly aligned with what the organization or anything anybody else is trying to achieve. So that rubbed me the wrong way first and foremost. But even so, if you, for example, had the analytics team looking at the wrong numbers, you would know, hey, we maybe need somebody directing this team better. So we're going to make a change up top. I don't know. At this point, if you have sat in a room for 3 days, you claim to have identified what has been going wrong. but you're still unsure of what changes are going to be made, and you're unsure of the severity or the magnitude of those changes, then you don't really know what you're doing. So big ol' nothing for me.
Nothing for me. The minor something is that I forgot to mention is Hal noted that Steve Swindle Jr. has some input on baseball decisions. That's like Steinbrenner's nephew through marriage or something. Like, somebody got to clear that up. Some reporters got to be like, what has Steve Swindle Jr. done? The Joey Gallo trade? Is he in charge of Midwestern scouting? Is that the rat? Did we find
look
him?
at Frankie Montas's medicals?
He got a degree in shoulder surgery and was like, yeah, these look good to me. And they're like, who reported that? He's like, Dr. Swindle. Dr. Swindle? Steve Swindle Jr.? Yeah, somebody do a deeper dive into that. Not me. I'm just a man, but somebody please. What the hell is going on there? What about Gleyber Torres' tweets? This one's just weird to me. Like something, nothing. It's definitely somewhere in between. But Gleyber Torres hasn't been on Twitter in a long time. We are used to Gleyber on Instagram because he's a regular poster on Instagram, but he's been off Twitter. We know social media affects him. We know the trade rumors last year torpedoed his season. He was just like retweeting stuff. He had not posted an original tweet that was not an ad or a retweet of like a campaign he was doing since March, since the World Baseball Classic. He put up a picture of himself in a Venezuela jersey. That's it. So a couple of days ago, he came back to tweet, all eyes on me, ... Then 4 minutes later, so long without Twitter. Oh, no, it's not Twitter anymore. It's X, laughing face guy. And everything remains the same, ... again. What is he going through? Like, look, is this something indicating like he's on the move tomorrow? No, but it's definitely something that he went back to the well where we know he's uncomfortable. He hates social media. He hates rumors. And he popped on to say, basically, what this means to me is my mentions are full of garbage. Like, oh, I logged on to Twitter to say that everybody's speculating about my future. And, Twitter, X, same difference. Who cares? It's still just a bunch of people in my face talking about how I can't be moved, will be moved, belong here, belong elsewhere, etc. So it's nothing because it doesn't mean like he's gone, but it's something because it means this is the most important offseason of his career so far. Whether the Yankees decide to sell high or decide he's a key piece of next year's team, it's still like it really is all eyes on him. And what happened last time he got too focused on his mentions and on the chatter and on the rumors, he struggled. And so the offseason has not begun. We are in the middle of the DS still. And he's here being like, damn, my mentions are crazy. Like, that is something to me because it's the exact opposite of what I want to see.
Yeah, this is fully something. I think legitimately what he's doing is bracing for what's to come. And like you said, I think maybe he saw a few things after the Yankee season ended with fans speculating or whatever it might be. Maybe he was reading some Yanks Go Yard, who knows? But yeah, he's historically not, been good with this stuff. You had the little tell-all nugget in The Athletic saying that he forbade his family from talking about trade rumors last year. When his name was mentioned, there was a direct correlation with him being mentioned in trade rumors and his horrendous August, which was like historically bad for a month of play, one of the worst months of play you'll ever see. You date it back to when he got moved over to shortstop and couldn't mentally handle really any of it. And I'm not blaming him. I would probably I'd mentally crumble probably 50 times more than that, but he very much couldn't handle it. He couldn't handle adjusting to a new position. He couldn't handle playing defense, and then he allowed the defense to affect his offense, and then he allowed the poor play to kind of affect his body language, which then snowballed into the negative media and the BS on social media that we see all the time. So I think it's definitely something. It very much aligns with everything that's been going on with him over the last few years. And I would feel a certain way if I was him too, because he had a good year. And I know still we were frustrated with a lot of moments with him, whether it was, you make a spectacular defensive play and then you boot a regular routine ground ball, or, you put a run on the board with a homer and then in a crucial position, you're running around the bases on a pop-up and you get doubled off. So yeah, I don't think I don't think that defined his season. But I think that there are certainly things to take away from the fact that he's not like fully there sometimes. But nonetheless, he was still the Yankees' second best hitter, whether you think that that's valid or not. It's certainly the reality. We wish it were different because I don't think Gleyber Torres should be the Yankees' second best hitter. I don't think most of us think that. In the end, he had a good year. He's still kind of dealing with shit because we're talking about, him heading into arbitration with that escalated salary. We know that that's probably not going to end well for anybody. It never does. And then you talk about trade rumors because he's an expendable asset at this point, even though he's that good and he knows more of the chatter is going to come and he's simply preparing for it. And I don't blame him, but I think if that's any indication of what's actually happening, then the Yankees probably should just say goodbye, let him start new elsewhere and figure out whatever they got to figure out.
Yep, he's in his own mentions already, and it's the beginning of October. So just to keep perspective on that, something or nothing, the final round. I think this is probably nothing, but it was still alarming to hear about what Brian Sabean is actually up to. This came from an Athletic story this week, an Athletic mailbag. Okay. We were all excited last offseason when Omar Minaya, the old Mets GM, and Brian Sabean, the man who constructed the 2010, 2012, 2014 Giants, came aboard the organization in some capacity. Sabean was with the Yankees pre-dynasty too in the 90s. So bringing him back meant a lot to me, and it meant a lot more than hearing that Minaya was back. Because I was just like, cool, good advisor. But Sabean, I was like, this is an old school Yankees name who helped build the dynasty and then helped oversee one of the best scouting operations of all time in San Francisco. I know Giants fans who I've heard from, people didn't love the way he built the team and the way he operated in free agency. And they were certainly, there's a downhill spiral from the 2002 World Series through 2004 through 2010. Like there was a lot of treading water, especially towards the end of Barry Bonds' career. But Bumgarner, Posey, an unbelievable postseason team, finding players at the margins to fill in a championship roster every year. Angel Pagan, Marco Scutero, Sergio Romo, Brian Wilson. Like those Giants teams were they were the original current Astros. It was like, they're doing it again. Mm-hmm. They're doing it again. You would just yell every year. You're like, it's happening. It was always happening. They knew how to find talent. So to hear Sabean was back really excited me. Turns out maybe not so hands-on. Now, you don't have to be hands-on if you're a phone call away, if Cashman can reach you. But The Athletic wrote about their two roles, Minaya and Sabean, and said, Minaya has had an everyday presence around the Yankees, especially in the second half. Minaya was with the team on its first two road trips of the year in place of Cashman, who stayed back. It's clear that Minaya and his long track record in MLB front offices is valued by the Yankees and that he will have a voice in the offseason when they look to turn things around. As far as Sabean, he's had less involvement on the ground, spending more of his time at home in Florida and advising on the draft. But he's also someone Cashman trusts. He, alongside Minaya, could be tapped for his wisdom, especially regarding roster construction philosophy. So good that he's involved on the draft, but Minaya traveled with the team instead of Cashman a couple of times. At the end of the season, we heard that he went on the road trip instead of Cashman and brought Nick Swisher. So it really kind of sounds to me like Minaya, Swisher, and then Brian Sabean's available if you want to talk to him, which is not as exciting to me as I wanted it to be. Although it is kind of exciting because it feels like Nick Swisher was probably in that check your egos at the door meeting, just doing like, all right, guys, put my cards on the table. I understand I did not do as good a job as I could have this year, man. My ego, when I entered spring training, my ego was at a 30 out of 10. I was so excited that you guys would trust me with this job. I was so excited you let me talk Anthony Volpe through his season. Then he struggled, man. So now, honestly, personally, I'm at like a 24 out of 10. So funny to think that he was there probably, but I am not heartened to hear about what Brian Sabean's been up to.
I don't know. Yeah, I was always confused by whatever this plan was. And I was nervous that it would devolve to this, where it was like, they're special advisors. They're coming in. They're going to be hands-on. And then, I can actually page him on his beeper to ask him a question about this guy's scouting report. So that's his role. We pay him actually $900,000 a year for that. I don't know who is the right the problem is I don't know who the right person is to influence Brian Cashman. And the fact that Brian Sabian's kind of at arm's length at this point makes it seem like maybe he's not the guy. And maybe Minaya is. I don't know. On the flip side, I don't think it's bad to have these people in your inner or barely outer circle if you need the type of insight that you might lack, or just to get a quick primer on a player or a scouting report or whatever it might be. Someone who's been in the league for 30 plus years, who has captured 3 World Series titles, who built, a form of a dynasty not too long ago, is certainly valuable to have. But this is something because it's more in line with kind of what the Yankees do. It's a fake change. It's like, here you go, we're going to try this. And then like over time, it's like, we never were really trying it. We just made it seem like we were trying. And now it's never what it was. So I don't, it's annoying, but I guess at least a heavier involvement from Minaya. But Minaya doesn't really give me any hope, does he? He wasn't entirely successful. I know he built a couple good Mets teams, but like they historically choked. The Yankees have an historic choke problem over the last, the better part of 2 decades, with the exception of one playoff run. So I don't know. Brian Sabian seems to have championship DNA. I don't know if he's maybe too old school for kind of where everything's gone in the baseball world. I literally have no idea, because I don't know how. I know analytics certainly weren't as cutting edge and front facing as they were, now compared to 2010, when was the last Giants title? 2014.
2014.
Even so, that was almost 10 years ago. So the game's changed quickly. It's changed a lot. I'd like more hands-on involvement, so it doesn't seem like these are pseudo changes, but that's what we got right now.
What if it just turned out he'd never heard of analytics? They like brought him back and they were like, and of course you're going to have input on the analytics team. And he's like, the what now? No, I don't. The baseball.
You guys hired a whole department while I was gone?
Yeah, I haven't been in a front office since 1993. Were you running the Giants? Yeah, I mean, ultimately, we were excited when he was announced as an advisor, but this kind of just sounds like maybe Cashman was texting him anyway. Like maybe Cashman's always been texting him, and they decided to just announce it at the beginning of last season so that we knew that, because it doesn't sound like he's ever there. So it's just like, hey, Brian Cashman has friends, which like that's neat, but that doesn't do much.
Does not do much. Another Brian. Maybe that's what they needed, to just create some confusion.
We need 4 more Brians. We need 4 more Brians minimum. I really thought I kind of wanted to do Swisher for Jabba yesterday. I was surprised
the impression.
Yeah, it's a bummer I didn't get to do it. I really wanted to do it.
You would have liked that probably.
Maybe next time. Oh man, I'll tell you what, man, that 2009 clubhouse was crazy. We're the only baseball team that's ever been friends with each other, man. We're crazy. Okay.
Yeah.
I love Nick Swisher. Just maybe optically, the Yankees did not have to announce yesterday that they're building nap pods and changing the lighting in the clubhouse, adding red lights, improving, dining spaces. All of these are good things, but when you are Hal Steinbrenner and you are being asked about rampant offseason changes, and your response is, yeah, we're going to make them. For sure, we're going to make them. No doubt in my mind are we making them. Some of them are going to be subtle. You won't even see us make them. Some of them are going to be obvious. We're changing the name to the Yankees. But rest assured, we're going to make them. What are they? Well, we'll get to that in a little bit. But first of all, I want to tell you all about some subtle improvements we're making to the clubhouse, like nap pods and red light therapy. You're going to get dunked on. Yes. People are going to log on to Twitter, or X, is it called these days? Haha, I don't know. It all stays the same. Quote Gleyber. But yeah, I mean, that's the narrative. The tweet that people are going to send me is like, did you see the Yankees are building sleeping rooms in the clubhouse? And I'm going to say, yes, I did see that. And yes, it's silly that I know that. I could have lived my whole life without knowing that they're building sleeping rooms. But unfortunately, it's the core takeaway of the first real offseason appearance of Hal Steinbrenner. And I just want to show up one day late to be like, You didn't have to tell anybody that. You didn't have to tell anybody that. Nobody cares.
I want to hear it. I want to hear it 10 years later when it was either instrumental in winning a World Series championship because the players got an extra 10 minutes of rest in between batting practice and the game, or I wanted in 10 years later in a giant expose about how the Yankees coddled all their players, removed the championship DNA from this team, and caused everything to spiral even further. I don't know why you mentioned this, but then again, I can't blame Hal Steinbrenner because he's come out and said multiple times he does not read the back pages. He doesn't read anything in the newspapers. He doesn't read anything on the internet. So how would he know that making a nice announcement saying, you know what, we're going to upgrade the player amenities. We had some nap pod, I don't know. Back in my day, we didn't have any nap pods, but these players now, they want nap pods. We're going to give them to them. He thought it was probably being nice, saying, hey, look, we spend money. We accommodate the players' needs. We want to make them comfortable. We want to make sure they're prepared for every game. But in reality, it's not that type of content for the way we digest things now. Now you see that headline where it's like Hal Steinbrenner announces changes, red lights coming to clubhouse in addition to nap pods. Are Yankees softest they've ever been? Where are your kids? It's 10 p.m. So I wish he didn't say that. I understand there were probably good intentions behind it. But again, this is the New York Yankees. Why don't they have a Gen Z PR person running around the front office every day, being in on these meetings? Cashman's like, hey, we're going to have a pregame press conference. We're going to announce this. Hal Steinbrenner's like, I'm going to appear at the sports conference. I'm going to say this. Got to have somebody in there who's on technology all the time, who knows how these things are going to be received. Actually, Hal, you're not going to say that. That's going to get you. TikTok's going to destroy you. Mastodon, you'll never see the end of it. We need that. We need somebody in there telling them that they can't hold these media sessions or these public appearances in the manner that they do because they never come off correctly. You can name, how many incidents can we name from this past season? You have the Josh Donaldson meeting with Aaron Boone right before that game.
Yeah, the Josh Donaldson sit-in where Boone was like, we actually talked about nothing. Why was that so long?
Why was it before the pregame press conference? Why didn't you bring him out here to talk about nothing? There were many. I mean, the most egregious one was last year with Aaron Judge's contract extension. That was hours before opening day. They decided to essentially throw him under the bus and set the vibes off. Thankfully, at that point, it didn't really set anything off because they had a really good first half, but it made the fan base feel shitty. It didn't make people feel good. I don't know why we're doing this. I don't know why they don't have better. I really just don't know why they don't have better insight into how they need to present this to their fans, because it's legitimately affecting how people live their lives.
This is a George Costanza idea. Nap pods in Yankee Stadium. It's like cotton polyester uniform switch. Like, aren't you the guy who booked the Ramada in Milwaukee? Like, the players are getting tired. Like, whatever. Again, you're right. Maybe nap pods work. Maybe they're the missing link. And then maybe we find out about that in somebody's book in the wake of a championship season, not beforehand, when everybody already thinks you sleepwalked through 2023. You know what we're naming the nap pods after games from the second half of this season. Like, oh, this nap pod is losing the first two to the Rays with combined 3 hits. Like, just getting absolutely dominated by Tyler Glass now. That's what we're calling this nap pod, the West nap pod. We're calling this nap pod Anthony Rizzo trying to react to a fastball mid-concussion. Yeah, that's what we're calling this nap pod. Just think, next, again, a Gen Z PR guy, Gen Zillow. Jason Zillow. That's what we need. We need Jen Zillow advising Jason Zillow. Before we sign off, so much ink has been spilled. And last show, we talked a lot about the Yankees in the playoffs, the people we missed out on, all the Rangers' whole rotation. Heaney, Evaldi, Jordan Montgomery. We've been through the ringer, but somehow we forgot the Philadelphia Phillies, who are maybe the ultimate old school, new school blend. Sam Folds is in the front office advising Dave Dombrowski. He's probably the favorite to be the Red Sox next GM, and he's new school. So it's not like they don't use analytics. Everybody freaking uses analytics.
Everyone.
But Dave Dombrowski built a team of burly mashers, strong dudes who are not phased, who know how to win in October, led by Bryce Harper, who Brian Cashman said, not only do I not want him, I want everyone to know I don't want him. I'm going to be a real dick about not wanting him. I'm going to say we have 6 outfielders, Aaron Hicks, Clint Frazier, Brett Gardner. Yeah, that's an epic long-term outfield. I'm going to say we're not interested in him being a first baseman, even though he's currently the first baseman for the Phillies, coming off a TJ, coming off a Rhys Hoskins injury. But this isn't even about Bryce Harper. It could be forever. And I still maintain that not going after Bryce Harper and bragging about how unique it was to not go after Bryce Harper should have gotten Brian Cashman fired. But who's in the dugout? Who manages this team? Rob Thompson, who was considered too close to Joe Girardi to get a real shot at managing when Girardi left. But we weren't told anything about Rob Thompson, right? I thought he was always just sort of a bland guy sitting, hanging out by Girardi. Nope, turns out he's an old school, new school baseball savant, clubhouse managing puppeteer god. He's been the perfect guiding force for these Phillies, and now he's Philly Rob, and now he has a job basically in Philly for life. He'll probably at some point, pretty soon, 5 years, just be like, I'm walking away, and that's fine. But the Yankees missed out on like 6 years of this guy. They could have had him. And who's right by his side as the hitting coach for this relentless attack? Regular season, postseason, doesn't matter. Kevin Long. And I get why we needed to fire Kevin Long after 2013 and 2014. 8 years for a hitting coach in one place is a long period of time. And he has bounced around since then. He's gone to the Mets. He's gone to the Nationals. I get it. Hitting coaches don't stay in the dugout for 25 years. But how about Kevin Long, Yankees manager? How about it, everybody? Just think about it. You can't hire Rob Thompson. You can't sign Bryce Harper. But you can bring Kevin Long aboard for his first big league managerial job after Aaron Boone's contract expires. I'm just saying you can have a piece of this too.
It really feels like we didn't know about Thompson by design, because
we really
I think
didn't. I hit Rob Thompson, Joe Espada. I mean, I thought of these guys were just like third base coaches. I didn't know they had any input. This was like 6 years ago. I knew nothing. It feels like a totally different world.
Yeah, I feel like if they had let, if reports had gotten out suggesting that these guys were, analytically driven yet old school, it would have riled up Yankees fans in a good way. And then the Yankees would have had to make a decision that their fans were pushing, which is something I guess Brian Cashman doesn't like to do anymore. You want to date it back to, like you said, about Harper. I think the same could be said about Corey Seager. And look how we're getting burned in all different types of ways right now. I'm not saying the fans are always right. I think there were legitimate reasons to maybe not sign some of these players to certain contracts or, take risks on certain coaches. I don't know. I'm not going to say that every decision that they made was absolute garbage, but the fact that they passed on so many obvious ones that were right in front of them. Bryce Harper, was begging to be a Yankee. Corey Seager had Yankees ties in some capacity, right? There were just so many things and Rob Thompson was he was here, he was in the dugout. And they had knowledge of him, being a positive and driving force for the players. So I just don't know. It's like they're bucking the trend in all the worst ways. They're trying to be different, but it's at the cost of becoming worse. You're watching it happen. Look at every player in these playoffs. And Yankees fans do this all the time. Oh, he should have been a Yankee. He should have been that. A lot of these incidents actually have tangible pull to it. Pablo Lopez trade fell through. Carlos Correa, there were reports about his agent contacted the Yankees multiple times because he wanted to play for the Yankees. They didn't do it. Bryce Harper, we know everything about that. Corey Seager, like I said, there was some sort of link there. Jordan Montgomery, we had him. We decided to not utilize him properly, and then we decided to trade him. List goes on and on. I'm sure there's another one, Matt Olson and Sean Murphy, two guys we could have traded for. We traded for all the wrong athletics players. So again, take 25% of these possibilities and put them in the Yankees' favor. And there is a large, large difference in how this team performs and is perceived by the public over the last as long as 5 years, as short as 2 years. And they've, along the way, have failed to address it early on. They've failed to address it in somewhere in the middle. And now they're once again dragging their feet after we've witnessed the worst season since 2016, worst season in the modern era since 2016, worst season since 1992, right?
Yeah. I had a little more fun this year than 2013-14, to be honest, especially because the Red Sox won the World Series in 2013. But objectively, yeah, bottom of the barrel since 92.
Yeah. So, I mean, and the fact that they're dragging their feet again just is not a good sign. The fact that Aaron Boone is definitely coming back. I mean, is that going to change everything? No, but it's not a good sign in terms of them actually making changes and being proactive, which they have not been.
Well, next thing you know, we're going to be finding out Brian Sabian did the nap pod. So that's something. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with you next week live on Monday at 2:00 Eastern like normal. But stay tuned to the feed tomorrow. Set your alerts because you're getting a Jabba Chamberlain interview, and it's amazing. Woo! So please hit subscribe if you haven't. If you're here for the first time, welcome. We just hit 700 subscribers, and we love it, but we know that is just the beginning. If you're here on the audio feed, thank you so much as well. We put that out right after the live show on YouTube every week, and we're building up numbers there as well. So thanks to everybody for showing out. Thanks, people, for showing support. Big off season ahead. Lots of shows, lots of different time slots, lots of variants on the feed, interviews, maybe some narrative stuff you're not used to. We just want to see what works. We're going to keep trying it out. Thank you, Yankee fans, for riding with us. We will see you again on Monday.
See you, folks.